run itself at a loss in the red, and if it wants to generate capital, what does it do? Print money, borrow money, and raise taxes. No one in the private sector can do that. That's when they talk about competing with the private sector. That's unfair competition. So the first thing is get a budget, have a balanced budget amendment, and get us back in Washington, D.C., understanding the mandates and the guidelines of the Constitution as it applies. How many people saw that video of Congressman Pete Stark from California? Okay, where, you know, that's why I was looking at that this morning. I was saying, man, I want to have a town hall meeting like that. But he was actually asked, you know, what else will the federal government do if they continue? He said, the federal government has the right to do anything that they want to do. But that is the mentality. The mentality, and he did mean it, and the mentality is that they don't understand that the Founding Fathers wrote the Constitution to be a limiting document on the federal government and a freeing document for the individuals down to the states. That's what we've got to do. We've got to get people back to understand that.
Hi, how are you?
It's 8 o'clock. How much longer y'all want to go?
12.
Who's ordering pizza? Go ahead.
How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing well.
Lately, I've found that more and more our judicial system is taking the Constitution into its own hands and manipulating it for its own devices. What would you do to stop that and to prevent that in the future?
Yeah, it's about the activist judges that we're allowing to come up on our benches. And, you know, it's real tough because of the checks and balances that we have in place. And once again, both sides play that game. So you have to be careful about that. But I think that we have to get to the point where people are ruling on the rule of law. I mean, a lot of people think that America is a democracy. America is not a democracy. We have a democratic process. We're a constitutional republic, which means we have to understand the rule of law. So that when all of a sudden you get that judge out in Arizona that gives out her ruling that really has no constitutional basis, doesn't make sense whatsoever, someone has to be able to step in and say, stop, ceasefire, hold. And those are the type of system we have to get in place, because if not, people are going to run crazy. I'll give you another great example. How many people heard of the Stolen Valor Act? Okay, that's pretty near and dear to my heart as a military person, because it says that, you know, Joe Schmuckatelli can't go out there on eBay and buy a bunch of ribbons and walk around, you know, saying, you know, I serve here and I got a Purple Heart. Well, we all of a sudden had a judge that said that's a violation of a person's constitutional rights. And he said that the Stolen Valor Act was unconstitutional. So that now what you're saying is that anyone can go out, buy military decorations or whatever, and go parading around with, you know, looking like Patton or Audie Murphy. So those are the type of things that, you know, someone has to stand in and say, you know, judicial branch, you're out of tolerance. You really are. But you got to be careful, because you don't want to have one branch that then is, you know, overruling the judicial branch. But there's some very heinous violations that we cannot allow these. You know, I'll give you another great example. And this is something that, when the people vote on something by referendum, judges should not be able to come back around and overturn the people.
Amen.
That answer? Okay. If I didn't answer it right, I have to do push-ups.
Good evening.
Hey, sir.
I want to mention, I think it's on. I want to mention the most important thing you said tonight.
Uh-oh.
That's get involved.
Okay, I thought it was who's going to buy pizza.
By training and by education, I'm an attorney. And I've done that for 46 years. And I was trained in a very conservative place called Philadelphia, who said, do not do anything to embarrass your client or affect them adversely. So dress conservatively. Stay out of politics. Now, there were politicians, there were lawyers who were Republican lawyers and Democratic lawyers, but not in my firm. I got involved in politics here when they came to us and said, help us pass gambling, the lottery. And it was against my belief. But I believed in education because I was the child of two immigrants who were born in Italy. And education is the only reason I'm a lawyer. So getting involved, I went to a meeting and I listened to Governor Childs. And just as we're standing here right now, I talked to him just as we're speaking. And I said, Governor, I want to hear it from you. This money will go to education. He said, I assure you, I will veto anything the legislature passes where every dollar doesn't go to education. And with that, I put my firm, I put the bank I founded, and I put a lot of my friends behind it, and it did pass. Not because of me, but because I thought it was the right thing to do. The problem was, I wasn't committed. Because that damn legislature took the lottery money and reduced the funding of education. They didn't add it, they reduced it. And the problem is, we have to stay involved. If I had done the right thing, I'd have been up in Tallahassee complaining. But I didn't realize it was happening until it was done. So I say to this, if everybody will keep this attitude and remember what we're doing, don't let Hastings or Klein or any of these people get away with telling you one thing and doing another. And Klein is better than anybody.
Thank you. You know, and you bring up a good point. You know, being a graduate of an SEC school, I love college football. And what you have to understand is this. If you're ahead 21-0 in the first quarter, does that mean that's the end of the game?
No. No.
Okay.
I've won a couple of those.
Well, I mean, that's what you have to see. And just the same, if it's the fourth quarter and you're down by 17, but you got the ball and there are 10 minutes left to go, you got to believe that you can still win. You got to play all the way till there's zeros across on the scoreboard. You know, they used to tell us when I ran track, you run through the tape. Too many people let up at the last minute and they get beat. We've got to run through the tape. And that means that, as you just said, sir, after the 2nd of November is not over. Because I expect to see y'all in Washington, D.C. I expect to see you in my office.
28.
Because it's not my office, it's your office.
And
There will be a place sitting there for you to come and be a part of that process.
we expect you to come back and talk to us. We expect you to come back and talk to us.
Oh, that's no doubt. Because I love to scuba dive. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going to get right to the point here. You're in a really tough district as far as the way the voting goes there. You have a big Jewish population, big black population.
Now
How
see,
are you
now
going to overcome the obstacles of people that vote 78% for the Obama agenda?
okay, now I'm going to tell you something that's going to be a little bit different. That's why you always carry your little handy-dandy data cards. CD22 is only 8% total minority. CD22 is only 13% Jewish. Okay?
They vote. Jewish vote. They're the ones that
But
are voting.
I will tell you this.
We're getting smart.
Okay. But I will tell you this. When Rabbi Smith invited me to his Chabad and allowed me to give the sermon at his main service on a Saturday, that's unheard of. And when 300 people stood and gave me a standing ovation, that was unheard of. So, I've spoken to 7 Jewish synagogues. Now, am I going to lead myself down some delusional path that I get all 13% to vote? No. But if I can get 5 to 6%, that's a huge victory. Now, let me give you the breakdown. As of the 26th of July, Palm Beach County, where you are up here, is 60% of Congressional District 22. There are 103,930 registered Republicans in Congressional District 22. There are 98,118 registered Democrats. There are 72,484 registered independents. So this is the battlefield calculus, as we say. If we can get 80% of that Republican vote, 103,000 to come out, if we can win 10 to 15